Hey, this is Michael Smith with the Bluefield Group, and today I'm here with Crystal Beck from Red Door Designs, and we're going to be talking about how to stage and prepare your home prior to listing. So Crystal here is one of our go-to interior designers, and whenever we have a client who's wanting to sell their home, we're preparing for photographs to get their home on the market. We typically like to get Crystal in there with us before the photos are taken, just to give some recommendations to the seller to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we market the home in the best possible light and we portray the home the best way possible to get maximum exposure. So Crystal, when we first loop you into the process and you meet us out at the property and talk to the seller, what are some common things that you might look for or discuss?
So what I normally do is I start at the front door and go room by room. And sometimes the client will walk with me and we'll do it as we go. Sometimes they have children and they need to take care of them, so I'll make notations and then go over it in the end. But common things that I look for are how much real estate you're showing on the floor. That's what you're selling. So you want to make sure that there's not a lot of things just sitting around on the floor. Your furniture are key items. You want to show that for scale, but as far as like small baskets, little side tables, small chairs, things like that, that takes up real estate. So
right.
It tends to look like clutter in a picture.
Okay.
So those will be some of the things that I'll ask them to take out.
Okay.
If they have places to put them.
Right, okay. So what about your kitchen? What are some important things that we can do in the kitchen to make that look better?
Make sure that your Tupperware cabinet is on the bottom and that nothing's going to fall out on anyone. You want to show the same as far as countertop space. No matter how large your kitchen is, sometimes you don't have as much counter space as what you would like, and you find that when you live there, there's things that you wish that you had that were different, which might be why you're moving. You don't want to show those off to the potential buyer.
Right.
So you want to show as much real estate on the countertops as possible while not making it so clear that it feels like no one lives there, that there's no personality. So
we need to leave some things on the counter.
Yes, I do recommend coffee makers are a great way to show that there's function in the kitchen.
Okay.
Everybody normally has one. Utensils, whether you use them or not, they're still normally beside the stove. Things like that, that you can show personality and show function and it not be overwhelming.
Okay. What about sinks?
Oh, they don't need to have dishes in them for sure.
Okay.
But normally I'll tell you your Dawn dish soap, your little scrub things for the glasses, things like that need to be put away. And you definitely need to clean it, especially the stainless steel. They show marks and stuff pretty easily.
Right.
So you want to make sure that that stuff's cleaned off.
How important are the photos in the process, would you say?
Very important, because these days no one goes out riding around to look for signs anymore.
Right.
You know, they'll look online, and so they see the pictures, and if they don't like the pictures, they're not going to your house.
Right, so they basically, the pictures have to sell you on the house before you even go to visit the property.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, so would you say that when you're there, that's one of your primary focuses, is how is this going to impact the photography?
Absolutely. Normally I will give recommendations on what to do for the photos, and then I'll give recommendations on what they can do for the showings.
Okay.
It's a little different between the two. The pictures are extremely important and rigid in how they need to look to get the buyer out there. And when they get out there, it's a little lenient on some of the things that can be out as far as toys or things on the kitchen counters. But as far as pictures go, you don't want to see that.
So definitely for the photos, you want your home in the best possible light.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So what are some common recommendations that you find yourself making to a client?
So what I'll do is I'll go to the home and walk room by room, and I'll stand in the doorways. And I try to envision what the buyer is going to see when they look at the pictures.
Okay.
So my recommendations go from that point. And it's always different. There's some common things that I'll tell a buyer or a seller when they're getting ready to sell that the buyer's looking for. But really it's specific to the home. It's what I think a buyer is looking for when they go into that house. Are they a family? Are they single? Are they looking to entertain? Or is this going to be something, nobody's coming here, we're going to go out for everything. So I look to see what they're going to be looking for, and I try to gauge how to give the recommendations from that.
Okay. So what are some things that people can do that might not cost any money to prepare their home?
clean.
Okay.
Cleaning is a huge factor in selling your house because when a buyer walks into the home, they use their five senses. And if they are touching surfaces or countertops or things and they're dirty, they're going to feel that. They're going to see it. Smells. If you have animals, you want to make sure that the smells are not something that's going to overwhelm them at the door.
Right.
Smoking. All those factors combined together make a difference. So you see the pictures and you can get them there, but once they get there, they've got to be able to use their five senses and not be overwhelmed by something.
Okay. So let's talk about smell. When somebody's viewing a home, what types of smells should they be smelling?
I like to say vanilla is a good smell.
Okay.
It's something that everybody is. It's something that everybody likes. It's not overwhelming. If you have allergies to flowers, that's not going to be something that would get you. Whereas if you had roses, that might make people sneeze. So if they start sneezing, they're going to go out the door.
Okay.
Cats, dogs, smoking, all of those things are overwhelming at times, depending on how many you have and how well you keep it clean. So vanilla is something that kind of covers all of that once you get it clean.
Right. So I know you agree with me on this. One of the things I tell my sellers is this particular scent might be one of your favorites. It might smell good to you.
Right.
But when we're marketing your home, the goal is to appeal to as many people as possible.
Exactly. For instance, I'm allergic to cinnamon, highly allergic, and apple cinnamon is something people love to put in their house.
Right.
But when I go in there, even for recommendations, I'll have to say, can you unplug those while I'm here? And so those are things you need to think about. Vanilla is something nobody I've ever heard of is allergic to.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. So what about natural light? That's a big buzzword, right? What are some things that we can do to accentuate or enhance the natural light in a home?
Normally, that's a recommendation that I give no matter where I go, is a certain way to open the blinds, have your curtains open. You want it to never feel like a cave when you go in a house.
Right.
No matter how cozy you want it to feel. So either you can open the blinds or totally eliminate them, depending on where you live.
Okay. What about closets? What are some things that we can do to make our closets? Yeah.
Closets are fun. I normally recommend, just as a overall recommendation, that 50% of the closet needs to be cleared out, simply because you don't want perception to be that you've outgrown your house, and when you open a closet and things fall out at you, people automatically assume, oh, they can't live here anymore because they've outgrown it. So
there's no storage space in this house, right?
We're going to have to move in a year. I have way more than this. So you want your closets to have some space.
So you said 50%. Okay, so if I've got a closet and I've got a bunch of shirts hanging up or whatever, and it's taking up the entire width of the closet, you recommend actually removing some of those items?
Normally what I would tell you is take your off-season items out.
Okay.
And if you tell me that all of that is for this season alone, then I'm going to tell you you're probably not going to wear all those clothes in 4 to 6 weeks, so you can probably still pack some.
Okay.
Pick out your favorites.
Okay. How about curb appeal? Maybe the front yard, some things that people notice when they're first arriving at the home.
Regular maintenance would be something that's key. Mulch, your bushes need to be trimmed, not overtaking the front of your house. Spider webs up in window sills, your shutters hanging down, things like that are common sense, but it's also things that will definitely attract your attention in a picture. And so if they feel like you haven't maintained the outside of your house, they're definitely going to assume you didn't maintain the inside.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about color. I know it's one of your favorite topics, right?
Yes.
So how important is it to have a little bit of color? Because nowadays a lot of people are big on, neutral, grays, whites, tans.
Right. Farmhouse, Joanna Gaines.
Exactly.
She's our favorite. However, that would be something that you see all over. However, in a picture, it's going to look a little bland. So you want something as an accent color, even if it is a darker neutral, to make it pop in the pictures.
Okay.
Now we all know I love color, but I don't recommend that you overload your house with it.
Okay. So if I've got a room that seems to be all one or two colors, what's something I can do, like a rug or a vase? Or?
I recommend throws, accent pillows.
Okay.
And if you're on a budget, then you can take your accent pillows and your throws from one room to the next.
Oh, when we're doing the photos.
Yes.
Okay.
So I do try to not make you go in overkill when you're you're trying to buy things that you don't want to take with you.
Okay. A lot of times people have pets in their home, and they might have a certain place where there's a dog bed or a food bowl or things like that. Should those items be removed during photos or showings, or can they be left there? What do you recommend?
Well, for photos, they definitely don't need to be there. The dog pens in the dining room and things like that, that has to go out. For showings, that's one area where it gets a little more lenient because your dog still lives there. So I'm not going to tell you that you have to take everything out and your dog can't function in the house anymore. What I will tell you is for showings, you want to make sure that the dog bowls aren't out where little kids who are coming with their mom and dad don't try to eat the dog food. And as far as the crates go, if you can put them in the garage during the day, that helps. If not, then we have to work around that and find a solution, a secondary bedroom or somewhere that's not as visible as being right at the front door.
Right. Okay. So let's talk real quick about valuables. Right. Maybe firearms or jewelry or things like that.
Firearms always need to be locked up. As far as jewelry, medications, even your bills, things with personal information, if it's sentimental or even if it's monetary value and you don't want to lose it, then don't leave it sitting out.
Right.
Because you always take the chance with strangers coming in your house that it might not be there when you get home.
Right. Yeah. That's something that I think a lot of people don't really consider is their prescriptions, right, in the medicine cabinet. But you've got to remember, there are people that you don't know walking through your home.
Right.
And, I've been in situations where I'm showing a home to a family and they split up. Right. The husband goes this way, the wife goes this way, and I've got to try and corral them just so I can keep an eye and make sure that I know what's going on in the home that, some seller has entrusted me.
Exactly. I will recommend that. I went into a house earlier this week, and the medications were on the windowsill in the kitchen. Just lined up.
Right.
And so I just told her she just needs to get a little Rubbermaid bucket, put her medications in there, and put it in a cupboard or under her bed. Somewhere where it's not easily accessible. Agents will try their best to keep up with whoever's in the home, and I highly doubt you're going to find one where the buyer is trying to sneak a peek under the bed to see what's under there.
Right.
So, just where it's not easily gotten to.
If y'all have any questions, please reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you and get you connected with Crystal, see what we can do to help you out. And if you have any topics that you'd like us to cover, please leave that in the comments below. We really want these videos to be as helpful and educational as possible. So please leave that in the comments below. Crystal, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. And guys, we will see you on the next one.